Throughout their playoff run, their bread and butter has been the rise in Tahm Kench. They're gonna ban it.
I've got a spoiler for you there, because I just managed to see it in the corner of my eye. It's gonna be a Rise ban. So there we go. Got the script ready to go. It's gonna be the Alistair ban alongside that here for JD, and EDG gonna lock away the Tahm Kench, the Aatrox, and also the Gragas. And Akali will be the final ban from JD.
All right, two things I want to see JD Gaming achieve in their draft. I would like to see them try to deal with the Scion so far, because honestly, I feel like Ray has just been given a free lane. It doesn't really matter how bad his laning phase actually goes. If he has a Scion, it's fine. And the other thing is try to rectify the bot lane. You can't lose your tower in a straight 2v2 scenario.
First pick of the Xayah, though, for EDG. Prioritizing iBoy into the bottom side, actually.
This is another great draft bait. They're trying to tell JD Gaming, I know you want the Rakan, but if you take the Rakan, I'm going to have Xayah Leona. And that's a terrible lane to go into for any matchup.
JD, they're going to lock in the Camille. That's actually taken away from them in the last 2 games, actually in the second phase. So lock it down now and power the top side of the map. I like it a lot.
Yeah, we were talking about this during the break, that Xin Zhao is a go early or bust type of champion. And if both games have gone early for EDG, you might want to look for something different. The Rakan is still locked in, even without the Xayah Rakan duo, and the threat of Mako's Leona hovering above him.
I mean, they thought about it. They locked in the Camille, waited down the time. It's like, should we? It's fine. Lumal has been performing so well this series. We'll just try and make it happen anyway. EDG locked down the Galio towards the mid lane, actually removing it from Yagao here. And now, I would assume, Leona.
The Scion.
Scion?
I actually feel like Scion probably is more important for EDG right now, because you can't really think of a pick that you can just throw into the top lane and it's like, it's fine. So Scion is going to be the one. It is about neutralizing the matchup difference between Zoom and Ray, so I applaud that.
Well, do you feel like JD just got away with murder then? Because they locked down the Xayah first, they come in with that bait, but then Rakan's taken away, and now they just ban away Leona second base.
You're right, but you know, I feel like there's more important things in the matchup for EDG, and that's the top lane. It takes away the win condition from JD Gaming, and for EDG, they're probably confident enough where they're going like, okay, we're going to force a ban on the Leona.
Yep.
That works for us. We're still probably going to win the bot lane just because we're better players. And we have seen in the 2v2, they have consistently outperformed Loken and Rakan.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, we're looking towards that Kai'Sa pickup from JD once again. I know we were talking during the breaks, like, would like to see something like a Varus, you know, something that has some priority and actually just trying to stabilize that bottom lane. Because think back to the series that they played last time around, JD actually getting the better of them in the first couple of games in the bottom side. We're expecting, you know, similar things coming to that second best of 5, that rematch, but so far EDG being straight up winning that bottom lane.
Honestly, we've seen very similar things from RNG compared to JD Gaming. When they get the Camille and their Kron, it's level 2 gank all the time. Now this time they're on red side. It's a bit harder to execute for them, but that's still the general philosophy. You want to snowball your lane super hard with the Camille, and she does provide you with more engage compared to the Xin Zhao later on.
Now remove Olaf, again try to help out the bottom lane right there. LeBlanc will be the ban towards Yagao here. Now Yagao, we're going to see him not on the Galio. Feels good, because we know there's lots more in this champion pool. Zoe comes to mind, the LeBlanc comes to mind as well.
There's a couple of the big ones that you could think about. The traditional counters towards the Galio would be the likes of the Jace, would be the likes of the Orianna. Those are the big ones. However, we haven't really seen that from Yagao, so I'm a bit curious into what he actually picks into. If he goes for something like the Zoe, it's not actually going to move up that far. Oh, this could actually be a mid lane Urgot. That's a great matchup into the Galio.
Yeah, so far we've only seen it mid lane coming out, at least in the LPL, coming out from Doinby. Because he is that bruiser mid laner. Just like to move towards those picks. But I do like the Urgot, regardless of which role it goes into. Been fantastic for Zoom and Yagao. Zoom has been straight up the best Urgot we've seen in the playoffs when we've had 5 different Urgot players.
We could see JD Gaming just go for a big, heavy brawler type of composition where they're going to run the Swain again and the Urgot in the mid lane. That's a possibility. But you can hear the crowds. They're getting hyped. They're laughing about the pick. They're feeling the sense of clear love, and that's the Evelyn we were all talking about.
He literally just hovered like Evelyn and then like Rek'Sai. It's like, what's happening in Game 4?
Yeah, the entire crowd just behind us was erupting in laughter right there.
Kindred, it's going to be Kindred here for Haro. We were wondering whether that was actually going to come out for him at all. It's been one of the champions he's been extremely strong on in the summer split.
I like the idea of the anti-dive, and also this is going to save someone in a potential the Fear Beyond Death coming in from the Urgot as well.
True. And of course, just drag him out though. He's got to be on top of the Urgot.
Yep.
And it was just like, get out of the circle. It will be Braum as well from EDG into that bottom lane. So we've got a full composition here from Edward Gaming.
And this would be something new from Yaga. We've seen glimpses of it on other LPL mid laners, but not a hot pick so far. Was recently buffed for the Gatling gun to deal a lot more damage in the early game. You can put a punishing play onto Galio once you get the Triforce.
It's not being locked in just yet. It would be a first, and it's actually locked in. Okay, sometimes I just get baited by that one, but it's not going to be the case. There we go. Corki into the mid lane up against Galio. Haven't seen this in a long time. I haven't seen it at all from Yagao. That would mean the Urgot goes to top side into the Scion.
It's a theoretically good matchup. You do to strip away a lot of the resistance from the Galio early on. You have better poke, but it's not something that we've seen from him at all. And that's the real big question for him. Can JD Gaming actually operate on a composition which they've basically been forced to pull out, something that they haven't really practiced upon?
But now we can actually see the Dumpling duo get to just perform in their own respective roles instead of having both hands tied behind their back, having to just play tanks all the time. Now we've got an Urgot on the top side with the Corki in the mid lane. That being said, I really like that Scion pick coming in from EDG because it basically stops the priority coming into the top side from the Urgot.
Yeah, definitely. But overall, this is the first time we're going to see JD Gaming in this series have a sizable champion select advantage towards the top side. They really haven't had that throughout the entire Game 1 or Game 2. This time, it's about the top side trade for the bot side trade. Can they actually pull it through with the Dumpling brothers? Yeah,
the Camille's going to be the big one here. First time he's had access onto that champion, otherwise it's just been the Zendao. And outside of that, it's like, well, it's either Camille or Lee Sin. You know, those are the things I want to see from Clear. Maybe the Olaf as well, but that's been taken away in this series so far as well. But consistency, that's what the analysts have talked about for JD. They've shown more of it recently. Though, to be fair, we've just seen a lot of JD. You know, they came in a round 1 of playoffs, played round 1, quarterfinals into semifinals, then 3rd place as well. They just had to keep on going through opponent after opponent. It was a long series as well. 3-1 into EDG, went all the way as well against Invictus Gaming.
And they still have a very strong team fighting composition coming out from EDG. They do have the Galio and the Scion front line once again. And you're also looking at the potential for a double carry situation. So I like how EDG have set them up. They're not gambling it all on the early and mid game. They have something for the later game prepared as well. They're strengthening up their draft. They still have the bot lane advantage going over to their side. So I felt like both teams really got what they wanted, but it's about the adaptation at this point. Can Haru actually play a carry performance to our liking, and can JD Gaming actually do something with this new pick and Corki?
Yeah, the ideology is still there from EDG. Make less mistakes and try and take it to late and beat out JD. Now down to a best of 3. We're 1-1 in a series. We'll see who can put us to match point. Well, the adaptation has come in from EDG's fans right there. They've actually gotten the chance to get it, but JD, they're just well ahead of the curve.
And I've never heard a stadium so split before. They're thinking about the old guard of EDG. You've seen these guys perform for so many years. There's emotion in that. There's a connection between the LPL region and this team. But on the other hand, you look at JD Gaming throughout this entire year, and you have to think, maybe this is the stronger candidate that we send to Worlds. So you could feel the Chinese community. They're really not sure about who to root for here.
I mean, honestly, it feels from this arena that they're just saying that it seems like the dynasty is done. It's time for a new era. And they're ready for it. You know, they're already behind and backing JD. Thumbs up from Ray. He's sitting in his brushes. Urgot's going to just waddle to lane right here. Going to have, once again, the Unsealed Spellbook on the Urgot.
Just to take a look at the adaptation so far, JD Gaming is actually going to get the push in towards the bot lane. They didn't have to leash for their jungler. So we should expect a little bit more aggression coming out from Clid as well. He's going to have the support of his lanes.
And it's about that mid lane as well. Corki into this Galio pickup. Final pickup coming in from Yagao. They're moving towards the bottom side of the map, already pushing in from Lokun and Lumao.
A little bit unfortunate for Haro. The RNG spawn of his marks does go on towards the bot side, so he's not going to be able to pick the first rotation up.
Yeah, Clid will be able to just take away the Krugs right here as well. Haro also get the top crab.
We have to be very aware of the level 3 versus level 2 dive that JD Gaming like to set up. They've done it so many times, especially against RNG. Push Uzi in on the Kai'Sa, make sure that you have a level lead, and then gank instantly. Camille's already in position. They're waiting for it.
Yeah, just ding level 3 as well. Pushing in this minion wave will be about another 10 seconds or so. Depends when Clip wants to stick around, because there's a very healthy health bars from EDG. Actually just spotted him walk around the corner as Mako's moving towards top side, so actually know exactly where Clip is.
Yeah, previous times we've seen JD Gaming do this with the minion dematerializer, but this time they can't shove the wave all the way in. They're going to just go back to their own jungle, and it actually creates quite a sizable lead for Haro.
It really does. I mean, he was just split out, though. Zoom just went down into his tri-brush, placed down the ward, saw him just farming up those Krugs. So both teams know exactly where the enemy junglers are. This comes down to this mid lane. Your guy's going to be constantly pushing up into the Galio. It would be a good match from early on just because of the range versus melee 1 versus 1.
Yeah, and I do like the fleet footwork being picked up right here. I believe there was a small graphical glitch earlier on our keystones, but it's not the press the attack, it is the fleet footwork being selected right here, and it allows him to harass harder. Usually the Galio in previous matchups that I've watched actually gets the shove earlier on, but with the extra sustain and the fact that you are more like an AP nature, you can just continuously try to shove the Galio in.
Now, Odie goes for the call as well, not really feeling that threatened by Scout.
It's a PvE game for him.
It really is. Once you have the Valkyrie, it's very difficult to lock down that Corki. Also has a cleanse as well, so just feeling very safe in this mid lane. Bottom lane again, we just see the Xayah versus Kai'Sa matchup. Both teams having this late game insurance. Seems to be what JD are banking on, you know, not looking towards the early game, mid game pressure that maybe a Varus would provide, just looking towards later on saying, well, if it does go late into EDG, which is a fair shout, it's EDG, then we'll have something in the back pocket.
Definitely is the case. EDG, Haro still looking for his first mark. There's going to be a lot of sparks flying around this scuttle. Usually when you want to play with the Kindred, you want to get her to 4 marks during the laning phase for that extra gank range of 75. But unfortunately for Haro, he's probably going to be denied again. Look at all the bot lane lanes.
In general, the matchup for Sion is good into the Urgot. Your Decimating Smash and your E just straight up outrange him. If he's trying to aggress towards you, start up the Q. It's like, if you wanted to stay in, I'm going to still win the trade. The only thing is really mana for the Sion in that matchup, and that's essentially it. So they'll both go back to base. Small advantage there for Ray, but nothing really to write home about. On the top side will be Kindle Gem first for Zoom. Also Corrupting Potion on top of that.
We see this a lot from the Urgots. He really doesn't rely on AD for damage, gets it from his passive, but can he actually evade the gank?
That's the question, because he's very far pushed up with the minion wave here as well. Ray, low on mana, flips him over his back with the disdain. Bahari's chasing him down to the turret, does have the flash. Here comes the minion wave as well. Flash after, finds the slow, turns around the Decimating Smash, and he goes down! Haro gets first blood.
And a way too ambitious teleport coming in from Zoom. He was trying to push the wave in, and it looked like Ray was just holding the wave there, but...
Bit of a tussle on bottom side, low mana from both of the JD members. Logan turning it around though. Big blade caller though from iBoy.
Definitely a winning trade coming in from iBoy. He gets the minion lead as well. But is this a ruse from JD Gaming? I'm not actually sure if they spotted out the Camille. They know where Haro is, so he shouldn't be here to assist in the next 15 seconds at least.
Level 5 on this Camille, doesn't have the ultimatum just yet. Just actually ding level 5. Throws out the sweep. Gets the slow down. Low mana. Pushing in this wave, but Kindred is coming up the rear.
Galio is level 6 as well, so this is a very dangerous dive.
As they go for this one, it will be a 4 versus 4. JD are thinking otherwise to make sure they don't get collapsed on in this tri-bush. Be a bit of a stare down, but neither teams really want to execute.
Yeah, they really can't get it done right there. Haro, even though he's not level 6, he will provide the extra slow and damage. And of course, Scout coming in with the hero's entrance. That's not a winning equation for JD Gaming. But you can see they're focused onto the bot lane. They're recognizing that they've been losing this 2v2 a bit too much, so they're trying to rectify it mid-series.
Yeah, first back's actually coming for the AD carries at 7 minutes. Pickaxe from Loken. BF sword from iBoy. Moving towards their first item. Start playing once again. Just a bit of a farming frenzy, looking towards the mid-game really before any action happens. Just that first blood to EDG. What
I'm really curious about is the Corki potential to play the side lanes. Now, something that Yagao does is that he actually sacrifices a lot of his own farm and he plays more like a frontline. I want to see if he can pull off a Knight performance on the Corki. Can he go into the side lanes, just use the extra gold lead that he's acquiring in this mid lane and try to spread the map out? That's not a play style that he's particularly known for. He's a great Galio, he's a great roamer, he's a great assassin, but a side lane split pusher is what you really need to do if you want to play Corki to the maximum potential.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have a lot of firepower come late game between the Corki and the Kai'Sa. Good tank front line coming in from EDG as well. My boy standing and delivering with the Xayah. And Haru actually getting a shot at the Kindred as well. And we'll just tanks out of him. See, a lot of just change up actually from both teams in terms of just the individual picks coming in for these players.
Kind of lull in the action right now. Neither jungle has been particularly active on the map.
Do they need to be?
Not really.
Yeah, pretty much. They're just waiting for the first objective, but it's Cloud Dragon, so again, no massive priority around bottom side unless they can get those kills, get the tower. We'll be looking towards. Ray actually pushing into the enemy jungle. It's going to spot out Urgot. See it as ward there as well. And yeah, the early game will essentially be a bit of a farming frenzy until we get to first item, start contesting its objectives. Me, Herald will actually be something these teams will be looking towards.
We've seen a lot of games on Urgot, and our understanding of the pick has really grown quite a bit after these few days. We're really less worried about the laning phase from Urgot anymore. The way that they play the Urgot in competitive is mainly as a tank build. There's no frozen mallet anywhere. It's not split pushing. It's all about just being a front line. You go into those team fights, and you can deal massive amounts of damage just through your Echoing Flames passive. That's the key thing about the Urgot. He's a juggernaut on steroids. He can run into the team fight with the Unsealed Spellbook, and he doesn't need the damage items to actually dish out anything in return. And that's a big reason why we see him over and over again.
Yeah, Black Cleaver into just utility pickups or just tank items is essentially all you need is Urgot. And he just does a bunch of damage in team fights. AoE Shred coming out from him is just so good into these tanks nowadays that you're seeing coming to the top lane, but Sion has also come up as a great answer to him in the laning phase. It was actually popularized by JD, in fact. They were the ones to bring up the Sion first. They brought it with a Graves, if I recall, into the jungle, and they just smacked him in laning phase. That's a way to keep the Urgot down. We saw great rotations come out yesterday from RNG, actually, who just rotated around the Urgot. and Urgot was level 2 when everyone was level 6, and that was just a bad time for him as well. So there are ways to deal with him. Also nice in the front to back when you just have that stare down in mid, going for a bit of an ARAM. Yep. You can't engage into the Urgot front to back because he'll just dunk your front line.
Pretty much. I really like Urgot with the poke compositions. We've actually seen a really good comp from, I believe it was Victus Gaming, where they ran the Vel'Koz and the Urgot at the same time. Yep. So if you want to go through the Urgot, you're going to have to step through the AoE of the Echoing Flames, and that at max level, it does 48% of your total HP in one rotation, and you get it back every 2.5 seconds. Yep. So basically the TLDR for an Urgot pick is you only need someone to deal 25% of a champion's damage before you could just execute him.
Yeah, hit him with the ultimate.
Yeah, it's a single rotation of Echoing Flames, 25% of the damage down, and then you just execute them straight off the bat. So incredibly valuable frontliner. It's basically a frontliner with benefits. That's the way the LPL really sees his pick.
Now we see a lot of blind picks as well from the Urgot. It's essentially just a nice filler pick in the same way that Swain was as well. It's just like, Swain's up, let's lock him in. Not really anymore, we just see Swain come in as a response. A lot of the time we actually just saw it in that last game coming into that Sion.
Yeah, Swain was nerfed quite heavily. You really see pretty much only Zoom still sticking it into the top lane.
Yep. And right now we've got another pause, as you can see on stage. Stately obvious, but just a bit of an annoyance for the players, EDG. A lot of older players on this lineup for JD. Many young players, actually. I mean, still first year for a lot of these guys. Yeah,
JD Gaming, everyone thought they were toast at the start of the year. They just lost their 2017 MVP in Doimby. Yep. And people thought this was a team with no stars. They wouldn't go anywhere. Yagao steps in Spring Split. And by week 2, everyone has their eyes on him. He actually broke the damage share record for a single game in the LPL by a second week of play. It was 59% of the entire team's damage on Zoe.
Yep.
Absolutely ridiculous, and to be fair, that was the Zoe when she was at her most unbalanced state.
Fair, but he still got it. The numbers don't lie, Clement.
Yeah.
And think that, I think it was actually Joinby who had the biggest share before that. Remember his Victor days when he just had ridiculous numbers?
Even on the tank build?
Yeah, when he went for like Iceborne Gauntlet. So
that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, no, it doesn't make sense, but neither does Yagao replacing Joinby on the same roster and then just beating his record. So nonsensical, but here we stand. JD have earned everything. And they said back in spring that the actions are going to speak louder than the words. They're going to show everybody how good they are. And usually when you see a new team like that, it's like, well, you know, their bark is stronger than their bite. But it's definitely been the reverse of that. And now they have a shot at Worlds.
Very surprising outcome for this team. Just looking at Haro, he's still at 1 stack, so pretty much picked that up from Zoom in terms of the top lane. That still means that he has to contest Scuttle quite often, though. So whoever's going to be able to push out and have a strong mid-game edge should find a lot of opportunities to actually start the team fights.
A bit of a contest there into the jungle from EDG, just kind of flowing with the idea of a skirmish. Just down a couple of wards as well. Haro just waiting right now. Waiting for his Q so he can hop over the wall there.
I like the vision play right there. Avoids the Scuttle.
Really smart stuff. Should be able to take this one away for free. Maker comes up as already down to half, so this will be a simple take for EDG. We'll see what the next dragon is going to be. What do you think, Clement?
Next objective?
No, I mean the next dragon. Cloud.
Oh.
Down.
All right. Not a great guesser.
It's 1 and 4. We'll get it eventually.
It's actually technically not 1 and 4. Because the game's predetermined to only have 3.
True. But only after the final lockout. So when you have three different elements.
Asian math segment.
There you go. Not learning anything with actually just becoming dumber. Top side, still farming away, looking for another back here. Actually from both top laners. And a boost picked up there from Ray. Clid moving towards the mid lane. Going to spot himself a warden in the brush.
Yeah,
and constant push coming out from Yagao, so won't get the gank off.
Just neither team is able to utilize their lane presence and push it anywhere.
Yep.
Like EDG has an advantage in the top side. You just saw a Ignite going down.
Yeah, you know, it's a good time. Usually you do that into like a Vladimir matchup. You'd lock in the Ignite. It's like, all right, I've killed right now. Now you're just trying to be annoying. It's like, take this, get it out of my rotation. And it just goes back to base. There you go.
You might as well use it. You have Unsealed Spellbook anyway.
Yep.
It actually reduces the cooldown and lets you cycle back, so.
No reason not to. Yeah, Ray's actually going to stay in lane, push in another wave as he sees Zoom go back to base. He's actually just completed his Black Cleaver. That's a very early Black Cleaver. Because he just straight rushed. He went for boots out of his runes, so it's before the 12-minute mark with Black Cleaver. That's actually a pretty huge spike. I'd be surprised if JD don't try and leverage this at least around top side. Bit of a contest now. Clid manages to find that secure. He's getting chased out. Flash comes out from Scout, and he will instantly get the kill.
And the difference there was the warding coming out from EDG. They had full vision of Camille even inside the brush, and Scout was ready to assist.
Yeah, really, there was a very heavy committal from Clid to just kill that crap right there.
Yeah, just didn't want to give them the marks.
Yeah, but now he's going to lose the Herald.
He got the mark.
There you go.
No, it's definitely an EDG's favor right there.
100%. Yeah, they're actually now moving their duo lane to top side. Ivoy and Mako. In comes Zoom though. Just saying hello. But yeah, this will be Herald down. Clean for EDG. And Ray is fully swapped up. Yeah, now JD are moving behind Temper towards top side as well. Lumar just went back to base, picked up a final item before looking to rotate.
Love the rotations coming out from EDG. Once again, they're leveraging their strong top side, and they actually get an extra push in the bot side as well. So they're actually coming out of this ahead not only in the objectives, but in the farm as well.
Yeah, I can actually see Kindred moving towards the bottom side, probably just going towards the red buff, but it might be an opportunity to place down the Rift Herald into the bottom lane. Yeah, multiple on the way pings, so there's a possibility he could set up a play. Clid in the jungle just completed his red buff, moving towards top side.
It's going to be really hard for Clid to actually find a play. Just look at the vision down there. Rakan's probably spotted out. Does use his, actually doesn't sweep, but let's get one of those control wards down.
Yeah, but 2 wards in that brush, though, right next to top lane, so they should be able to see Clid if he goes all the way around. Not going to see him, though, as he pass over control ward, but EDG was playing it safe. Don't see Camille on the map. Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, the play is being set up and Zoom under attack, blocking the disdain there as well. Haro following through, knocked up once again, and Yurga simply just Can't do anything in this situation. Nice pick once again by EDG.
He's completely stuck in place by EDG right there, and without the extra movement, he can't get his passive off either, so he's just a sitting duck, deals no damage. That was such a good play from EDG. They get the extra rotation, they get the wave shoving back, and then they follow up with the gank.
Oh, set up into the mid lane. Double teleports instantly, though, from EDG. And a lockdown onto Klid, trying to get out of this one. Throws up the hook shot. Yagal's right behind him as well. Nice slow there from Ray. Pops the package there to actually get out.
That was an overcommit coming in from EDG, however. If you look at the top side, because of the double TP, they're going to have to trade these towers right now. They're out of position.
Yeah, actually Scout's moving towards the top side, trying to stop Loken, but here comes the Herald into the mid lane. The setup is here from EDG. This will be trading up. Brings up the door as well, preventing Yagal from getting damage on top of this one. In comes Klid. Throws up the sweep, but zooms back from base. Lumao thinking about potential flank, but doesn't all in on this. Gets a second charge, though, on Shelly.
I guess I was wrong. I just didn't factor in they had the Herald on play already.
Oh, Zoom. Pathing over ward right now, into 3 players from EDG. He's only just respawned, and he'll be going back to base.
Well, at least he gets one of the Merc Wolves.
There you go, silver lining and everything there, Clement. But 4 kills to 0 now, EDG. I mean, this has just been fantastic play from them in the early game, and I think a lot of it, honestly, has come out from Haro.
Hey, now do you feel like taking the Scion on the 3rd pick is a good choice?
Yeah.
You just can't do anything against it.
Top lane, Scout getting locked down. This could be a return, but he's just so tanky. Heroic exit, goodbye.
And this is the problem. JD Gaming have not been able to find purchase in the initiative throughout this entire series. Every time EDG is just outthinking them 2 steps ahead. The rotation play was so well done. If you haven't been in the lane swap era, you're not going to read that play correctly.
Yeah,
because they actually just shoved the wave in and made it bounce back, set up a gank for it. That's very high-level play.
This preparation has just been great from EDG so far in this series. In the early game, they've always been controlling it. It's just down to JD to come back into the set. And, you know, again, we're talking during the break, and it's like it would be nice to see JD try and find priority from the start and shut down EDG before they can make plays at all.
JD Gaming.
They're giving them space to do it.
Yeah, they were known as the first blood team of the LPL, actually 74% first blood rate throughout the split. But in this series, they haven't gotten it. I don't believe they've gotten it once.
No, EDG have been there to strike first. And again, props to Haro. You know, the fact that he's starting off this series. Last time they faced them, it was Klid starting on the first 2. But Haro's done a lot of work. I really like the fact when he gets the chance to play on these carry jungle as well, something with a bit of bite to them. Talia, I think, was the first change that we saw from Haro moving from spring into summer. Like, wow, this guy's actually really good. There's a reason why he's on Edward Gaming in the first place. He just didn't manage to show any of that because it felt like either him or the coaching or whatever was trying to make him a second Klid. You know, put him on the tanks, put him on the Sejuani, and put him in place, and then we'll use Klid afterwards. Now he's become a real starter. Now they can actually play around picks like Kindred.
The key thing is the coordination that he is having with the rest of his team. Never mind.
Oh, cast a curse right there. Places down the ultimate. In comes Scout, though. Charging up the taunt, flashes the wall. Mako's there as well.
They're
saving Private Haro. Yagal jumps over the wall, and he's right in the middle of all this CC. Wins the war is big. In comes iBoy from the bottom side. Toss out the ultimate. And Yagal, he's going to get the kill there onto the Galio. Zoom teleports into the fight. Charges up the decimating smash. Now have to flash the wall again. JD trying to run away. Ray with the Righteous Glory catching up, gets to slow down. Lumao should get to safety. The rest of the team can't see that for them. Zoom pushed up against the wall, stunned down, and it will be the kill. Yagal trying to eke away from the fight. 2 kills to EDG.
And that was Haro using the Lamb's Respite to drag out that initiation coming in from JD Gaming. Every member for EDG is able to rotate into the fight, and this has to be the worst game we've seen Zoom play for such a long time. Getting caught out in a bad position, getting nailed by Ray's Scion right after the teleport. Not really able to do much this game.
Yeah, I actually don't think I've ever seen a game like this from Zoom. I'll be honest. I mean, he's just been such a solid top laner. Put in any situation you give him, the 1v1 in lane team fights will just tell him to play back, but 0 and 4. This starts off a catch on Haro.
It was really unfortunate for Haro going through the enemy jungle, but he's able to drag it out for so long that the rest of the map is rotating. The most important thing here is actually the Scion. I want to see how he actually passed through the jungle, because that was some very quick rotations without a teleport coming his way. It does look like a good trade for JD Gaming early on, but just watch this. Ray comes through the Silk Road on the red side. He had to go behind the red to make that play happen.
Yeah, and Ray just finished off the backside, but I think honestly some of that was set up by Yagao.
Jumps
over the wall, Valkyrie's right into the middle of two people with full health, and he's just separated from the fight. Really didn't manage to get much done. After that, he was just hovering around in top lane, just too low to participate.
And that's the question we were asking, because Yagao is actually playing this Corki like a Galio. He's just going in and thinking he's going to have the taunt. Well, he did taunt people, but he doesn't have the damage reduction to actually survive it.
Yeah, he was one item in that fight, now picks up his rapid fire cannon, which honestly is a really nice pickup considering he just face planted into the team. Now he can actually play a little further back on this pick, but so far the Corki hasn't really been working out for JD. That being said, you're always looking at scaling if it's Corki when you're looking towards a Kai'Sa. So the scaling is there from JD, but this is not what you expect. You know, it always feels like JD have stolen EDG style, and in game one it was great. You know, they took their style, they took the club, beat them over the head with it. It's like fantastic. You can do this game after game after game, then EDG, they probably don't have anything. Now coming into the third game, we see a very similar thing, but it's always having to come back. It's like that Billy story. I don't want to see Billy gaming, I want to see JD gaming.
The question really is, can JD Gaming actually reinvent themselves?
I mean, game one said yes.
Yes, game one said
two
yes.
And three.
I'm not sure on new picks, however. That's the big question, because this is just completely new territory for JD Gaming.
EDG making the best of this one. Only one minion, but again, a lot of work done with this one, tanking up with Haro.
The key play here is that Zoom cannot join this fight. He's still trying to play catch up on the bottom side. I like the kind of rotation that EDG did. They understood that Yagao was most likely going to be the one facing up against the Scion. He does deal majority magic damage against the Righteous Glory that was built first from the Scion, so you do want to get that split push there. And then they followed it up with a trap. They saw Zoom in the bot side, they all went forward. If Yagao was trying to push his luck in that matchup, he actually would have been caught out. So, you know, great rotations coming from EDG.
Now, I get the feeling, though, as this game goes on, it will be down to Barons once again coming in for both of these two teams. We'll have a skirmish over that objective. This time there is no instant rotation coming out from that Rise. I think that was a big deal actually coming in from EDG. Just pushing forwards and then having the Rise ultimate to really just sprint away from JD as they try to catch up. But this time around, actually gives them a chance to try and fight. EDG with a 3,000 gold advantage puts them ahead of their opponents. But scaling is definitely over to JD if they can get there.
For JD Gaming, it's not going to be an easy team fight, even if they keep this gold deficit stable, because they're going to have two initiations. Ray's coming in,
Ray
double
just
teleport.
teleported right behind Loken, comes out the Killer Instinct, and Luma's right alongside him, and here comes the teleport out from an ally as well. I actually just killed Clid in the jungle, though.
Yagao standing on the ward, he should be spotted.
Yep, jumps away with the Valkyrie. I want to see how that kill actually happened to Clid. Looks like it was just in rotation. That's the worst possible timing. 22 minutes on the clock, and EDG instantly turned towards the Baron. There's no smite now on JD.
There's no blasting cone as well. Ray is going to play keep away right here. 4 members, but Yagao is still alive. He can deal a lot of damage.
Yeah, Loken pushing up Lumao around the side. Zoom getting locked down, though, comes out of the disdain, but here comes a massive charm and a massive knock-up coming from JD, but do they have the damage? Seems like the survey says no. Yagao turning around, and EDG have been stopped from the objective.
Yeah, that's a key point right there. Lumao played it about as well as you possibly could, and he even had the smite ready for the challenge. Quick thinking right there from the Unsealed Spellbook. You definitely don't expect that.
8-1 in EDG. Like the play. We'll probably see how that pick happened. Yeah, Clid just trying to rotate. Hit by the Winter's Bite, yeah. No getting away from that one.
Yeah, it was actually 5 seconds away from his flash as well. Really close play, but EDG, they're just out-rotating across the map, and they're pinning Zoom to one of these side lanes over and over again. They see if Zoom is on one lane, we're just going to play towards the other lane. He's going to have difficulty rotating without his teleport. He's a very slow champion, and if you look at his build, there is no Righteous Glory. So they really don't expect him to join fights, and EDG are just picking on the crab over and over again.
Yeah, it's a sad day for Zoom, and honestly, it doesn't feel like JD can stop the bleeding. You know, this is a 0-8 top side of the map. We're like, finally, we're going to have priority. We've got Urgot, we've got Camille, and it was literally the opposite that happened in this game.
I feel bad for our analysts. Like, JD Gaming, top side, real strong. But this is what EDG can do.
We're not lying to you.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like we've lied to the viewers. This is not how it usually goes. This is literally 1 in a million.
In terms of individual player strength, you absolutely give it to JD Gaming towards the top side. But EDG, I think this is just their experience, their playmaking ability. It's really rare to see EDG play this well together. We haven't seen this for quite a long time. They've lost a lot of their bearings in the 2018 split.
Oh, hello.
Oh, he gets it.
Literally jumps in front of him, gives him the thumbs up. Cheers,
and
mate.
The emote.
Oh boy. Yeah.
I think they're gonna ban the
Sion.
Sion.
There you go, got some french fries in the end. You can do a lot with the humble potato.
It's just too annoying. It's a massive dampener for JD Gaming. He can't do anything in the top side. I feel like Zoom's getting frustrated.
Of course he is. He's 0-5 on Urgot. There's no way he's not feeling frustrated. And again, it's that experience that you talk about, but this is still a very different Edward Gaming. Like, we're looking at Haru. He's been the star player of this game, 4-0-4. Well, Haru's not been with the organization. But where's Clearlove? You know, Clearlove's meant to be the person at the front of this. Mako even being the shot caller. But so far, it's actually the new people you're bringing onto this roster actually coming up trumps.
And it's been the synergy between him and Ray that we're really looking at. At Spring, they actually had, gold-wise, the worst synergy possible. A lot of times, Haru is actually giving up deaths to Ray's lane opponents, and that's why Ray had the worst GD at 15, over 500 gold down. But this split around, this series, we've really seen them come together. Find the opportunities to pick out on the enemy top laners, work with him, get him the ganks, catching up some of EDG's long historic weaknesses.
They're playing up when it counts, EDG. They lost in the playoffs, unheard of, honestly, in the organization's history, but the fact they're able to come back just, again, speaks towards how strong they are in the end. The fact they can constantly bring on new players.
Yeah, this has been the worst playoff performance for EDG ever. They've never finished this low, 5th and 6th place, because JD Gaming took them out in the quarterfinals. Right now, going back to the game state, it is going to be about JD Gaming and EDG battling over that red side ward position. So far, EDG have been able to find picks again and again, but Zoom finally has his teleport back in place, so he can finally look to join the fight. And I want to see how EDG actually tries to wrestle away the vision from this sector of the map.
I want to be grouping up, pushing in there, but difficult into cleared Lumao. There you go. Grouping up Haru and Mako. Jungle Duo support. You guys clear out a lot of this. Bottom side, you guys going to get his blue buff. Now 2.5 items. Bottom side, 2.5 items. JD is still scaling, but it feels like they just need more really to crack EDG's front line.
And this is a massive win for EDG because a control ward in the bottom side of the mat spots out the Dumpling Brother duo. That means a clear go-ahead to go into the red side of JD Gaming. Again, EDG are coming out ahead just because of the vision that they're placing.
Cleared sat on top of this brush, and it's just an easy collapse once again. Cleared, getting caught out in the jungle.
And that's a position where you have to assume there were wards before. A bit too easy for EDG, honestly.
0-9 top side. All of the kills from EDG, crushing the top side of the map. Here comes a contest from JD, but EDG might look for the turn and burn. It's down to 4,000 HP. In comes Scout over the wall, zoning him away with the taunt. Trying to get this steal off. Lumao into the pit, but it's not going to happen. Flashes back out. JD needs to look for damage control right now, but Zoom has to kite back on this one. Lumao trying to protect, and Yugao getting chased out by Ivoy. Flashes forwards onto him. Now he turns on towards Zoom, but he's already dead. Over the wall, Lumao escaping into enemy territory. Here his entrance comes in once again. But it's a massive win from EDG.
It's a 1-for-4 trade so far. Sorry, 1-for-3 trade. But could be, oh, Lurma actually gets out.
Behind enemy lines.
Private Lurma.
That's the only silver lining out of that entire play. Baron, multiple kills, complete domination so far by EDG.
Yeah, and you have to remember, Haru was holding on to the Lance Respite the entire way through. He didn't even bother to save Ray in that fight. Mako is such a good champion against this composition. He's blocking away all of the range damage. Lumal tries to go in. He actually has his ghost instead of the smite. So really can't contest that point. And this is just an easy initiate from EDG. They have Ray go in. They're chasing Loken to the wrong side of the map. Not much JD Gaming can do.
It's a scary sight when it's literally a Xayah trying to run you down when the Xayah is pushing forward into your mid laner. Naiboy's just an absolute monster right now, 3 items, and just doesn't even need a protection of his front line to still dish out the damage.
That's what Stormrazor does for you. This is just such a textbook game from EDG. This is the old EDG that we really want wanted to see throughout the entire split. I felt like 2018, EDG had to reinvent themselves. They had a lot of problems with actually just synchronizing their players together. But this might be a bit of a return to form. The cleanest game they played in ages.
Hey, better late than never, right? It took a long time. They've gotten it together. At the final hour, EDG pushing down into the bottom side of this Baron buff. Easy inner turret take, and they'll just be rotating from lane to lane, just trying to get more of these now. JD looking for an opportunity to come back into this game. Now Defcat's going to be big for Loken, but it seems like they're just behind the arms race.
They just can't do anything to the Scion in the front line. For most of this series, JD Gaming were the ones that had the better front. But now EDG are prepared to take them on just front to back. And it's so hard for JD Gaming because they have to do multiple reinitiations. There's also the Lamb's Respite that they have to contend to. Once that goes down, they probably need to back out. A very difficult team fight for JD Gaming to actually win.
Yeah, it's going to be a front to back as well as they're sieging down the mid lane into the turret dead. EDG, if they can take a inhibitor turret right here, it would be massive for them. My boy recalling has the teleport to come back to the team. We'll buy a little bit of respite for JD. Still 40 seconds left on the Baron. Yeah, Ping goes onto top lane, seeing if they can maybe just knock this one over as well for the final push.
The entirety of Vision also going to EDG as well. If JD Gaming wants to do anything, they actually need to group up and go into their jungle themselves. I feel like this is something that they've really dropped this game. Like multiple pickups onto Clid. We've actually seen it 3 times in the top side alone.
And now there's going to be next. It's a rainy day on some of those rips. 3 Ocean Dragons coming our way. Hara just farming on up. 6-0-5. 3 items. This Kindred pick has really paid out for EDG, making those practice plays in the early game.
And I really want to see how many marks he actually has at this point. Remember, Kindred can stack up infinitively, but you are capped, I believe, at something like 750 range.
Well, that's not infinitely, is it? That's the cap.
You can stack your marks infinitely.
Oh, that's
but you can't
fair.
range.
Oh,
yeah.
I would wager he has a lot right now. We'll see if we can catch that one, but EDG moving towards the top side. It's just so hard for JD to come back into this game, and it seems to be what's been trending towards over these 3 games. You know, it's just like JD got game 1, but then since then it's been tighter and tighter on the ship for EDG. Been cleaning up those mistakes.
Yep. I feel like they do have the winning strategy. Just put the Scion Potato into the top lane, focus on bot lane, better matchup. And honestly, Scout is just outperforming Yagao throughout the entire series.
Yeah. I mean, it's been the year of Scout as well, to be honest. I mean, this has been the best year we've seen in Scout's entire career. He's the type of guy who will win you a game or lose you a game, but if he's just winning you a game every single time, then that's what you want to see out of him. Just a more consistent mid laner. 2, 1, and 4 currently on this Galio pick.
Game's been quiet for a long time, but EDG are finally trying to tighten the noose. They have all 5 members in the top side.
They're chipping away now at these objectives. The watershed moment will be when one of those inhibitor turrets fall, however. JD still have a chance until then, but it's an 8,000 gold lead over to EDG. Could have an altercation in the jungle. That's a lot of damage down onto Haro. Mako also chunked out there. Ren Boy will be backing away from this play.
Great crit coming in from Yagao right there. It was a RN and auto attack straight onto Haro's face that nearly just killed him.
Well, now we've learned that they still have a lot of damage in their back pocket coming out. I mean, as we get later and later into this game, we spoke about it in the early game, but it didn't feel like we'd ever really get there. Corki and Kaiser are going to be racking up a ton of damage when you get to the late game.
It's about if Yagao can actually find those side shots onto the back line of EDG. He can deal a lot of damage to both iBoy and Haro in that situation. But I would still say the front to back is massively in favor of EDG. It's just almost impossible to go through those 2 tanks at this point. It is a good way to try to trigger JD Gaming to get back into the game. They could try to play the team fight in a way that trades the back lines first.
EDG pathing towards top. We spots out on this wall though, yeah, Loken just farming at range. I feel like the next fight will really just determine this. Another 45 seconds onto this Baron. Seems like so much of this series has been resting on that Baron. You know, last time we saw JD against EDG, we're saying, wow, look at the progress actually around the Baron area, because back in spring, that was their Achilles heel. You know, they would always just fall at the Baron. We've had so many Barons stolen away from them.
I'm keeping count. It was 7 Barons stolen away.
Of course you were, yep, 7 Barons. But they completely cleaned it up last time we saw them against EDG.
That's Coach Holm for you.
Yep.
In the 7 splits that Coach Holm was healthy and coaching the full split, he has always taken his teams to the playoffs. That's how good of a pedigree he actually has. And like Frostaren was saying, it was a great move by JD Gaming. It really tightened up their in-game play so much. And we heard from Yagao as well. That is the point that they felt Holm helped them the most. It was about in-game execution and in-game rotation. JD Gaming was coming in as a really rough and raw kind of young team. But throughout summer, massive improvements coming through. Now it's all about, can they actually secure this Baron? They see Ray.
Ray sees them, and Ray is not taking a lot of damage.
Nope.
In the last 2 Baron takes, last 2 attempts at Baron, Clid's not even been here. He's been the one to be picked out. It's important that Clid just doesn't get caught again, because he's under attack, jumps over the wall. Lumao's there in front of him this time.
Clid prefers to live dangerously.
Oh, he lives life on the edge, for sure, Clement. I wish he didn't. Makes me feel uncomfortable. That water didn't need to see them. No, it didn't. And it's seeing Haro over the wall, so yeah, I mean, we will jump back and spin. Now they know it's being activated, but look at this flank ward coming in from EDG right now. It's Scout right behind them. Bearing down on Yagao. Baron down to 5,000 HP. Where's the collapse? They actually all turn on towards the Galio. They say, let's trade objectives, but the Galio's buying time with his hourglass. Clid over the wall, but it's secured by iBoy. Clid down as well, and Loken, he died in a 1 versus 1.
JD Gaming split focus, but EDG come out ahead on both terms. That was a single rotation and Loken was down. Loken thought that there would be teammates backing him up and tried to at least trade back the scout kill.
And JD absolutely get nothing from that. They lose on both fronts. 13-2, and EDG have not dropped a beat in this game. Yagao retreats once again with that special package. Ray pushing forwards, so you can get the CC onto anyone else. Lumao, Yagao, and Zoom, the last defenders of the last bastion here for JD. But the towers are dropping so incredibly quickly. Instant kill down to Lumao. Yagao kites back to the fountain, but he just doesn't have the damage. EDG opening up onto the Nexus, and the machine moves into overdrive as they take us to match point.
2 for 1 EDG, and they're finally coming back to form. That's the desperation that EDG has made so many LPL teams feel in the past. No purchase whatsoever in the early game. They couldn't fight the team fights they wanted, and EDG stick to their strategy. Strong bottom side, put Sion into the top lane, and just eliminate those mistakes.
And not many people would have had faith that that would be the strategy that would pull them through to get to match point first. 2-1 in this series. Because so far, in this entire year, EDG have tried to do that, and it's not worked for them.
I think it's really important about the picks themselves. The Sion is proving to be impenetrable. Coming in from JD Gaming, they found maybe 1 kill onto him in the early game, but Zoom isn't able to play the split push game, and I think that's the big problem here coming in from JD Gaming. In the 5v5s, they can't win it in the early game, and they can't drag the game out towards the later game where they're favorable with any of these split push picks. Yagao, I think he's showing up, he's coming up short in terms of the champion pool as well, going on to something like the Corki, but not really finding any of the Corki strong points.
And now for JD, they're the type of team who, even though they're very young, we never see Tilt really come into their play. You know, you would look at the jungle, you look at the top lane and be like, oh, well, that's Tilt right there. Not really. I mean, they'll move into this next game, they'll fully reset, but then I'm still looking at the draft. You know, we were talking about this, and I feel like just looking towards maybe a Varus on the bottom side, stop trying to go late with Loken right here, have the insurance there, but also the playmaking abilities you move towards mid-game. Give the jungle Camille, I think that Camille was still good, but give mid lane something like a Zoe. You know, give comfort over there to Yagao so we can make those plays happen and get ahead of the curve on EDG before they can start making these set plays.
I think they need a secure kill combination coming from them. That's what I really want to see in terms of their bot lane. You know, they're just playing for late game. Top lane, you're going up a tank, you can't get your first foot forward. They're never going to find anything in the game if that's the case.
Yep, should have known it wouldn't be so easy to topple the dynasty though as we head over to the analyst desk.
You know, I'm supposed to be the impartial host, but I think I was agreeing with you guys for most of how the set was going. I thought it would be going JD's way with the 3-1, but Edward Gaming showing that the dynasty is still strong. They may have had their worst split all year. They may have dropped out of playoffs very early on, but when it comes down to the World's run, they collect themselves.
Start learning and playing around Haro. Because during the regular season, one thing we saw a lot of was Kindred. MVPs, when they came over to Haro, about 4 of them, it was all on the Kindred picks. And so when you see EDG on Kindred, you see more confidence coming into Haro. That he leads a lot of the time into, you know, a lot of times invading, challenging, and that's what we did see here. This game was decided just based off his Kindred pick.
I mean, he sat at 100% kill participation when we were sitting around 12 kills or something like that. Haro absolutely popped off.
Yes.
And if you look at this game specifically, you know, Clid has the Camille. He's the guy who needs to be dictating and setting the pace, and Clid fell flat. Probably the worst game that he's had this series, and he's just being outclassed in the jungle. And while I do agree with Clement that, you know, this is EDG, they got the tanks, they have, you know, the Zaya on the ADC, from a compositional standpoint, it looks like old EDG, but the fact that that hard camp came out from Haro on Ray's lane, no one expects that facing Edward Gaming. You expect that their top laner is completely left alone by himself. Now, to be fair, Zoom put himself in this situation. He teleported way too aggressively. He tried to push his luck, and Haro immediately clamped down on him. But again, you do not expect this camp out of Edward Gaming.
And ordinarily, Clid is there for a counter gank. If you see the entirety of the playoffs run, Clid is prepared, and he plugs into Zoom. But the entire damn game, it's been Zoom alone in these situations. Down in the dumps, 0 and 4, 10 minutes, it was really difficult.
0-10 bot lane at a portion in that game. You're like, ooh, excuse me, top side of your map.
Yeah, and meanwhile, Loken is just sitting there like, guys, I can scale if we can hold it. Turrets, but they never got the opportunity because EDG, that's where they're their most comfortable. They're the tempo team, they're the control team, and it wasn't necessarily set plays around the bottom lane. As we said, it was about Haro.
Yeah, following Haro, because you said it, 0 and 10, top side of the map. So even though right now, you said, yeah, JD, they're trying to scale up for their, not just for Loken, but also for the Corki.
Yeah.
It works. They were getting their items, but they were losing so much of their jungle because Clid had to get pushed off. In fact, when Clid was moving towards the top side to help out what was going to be a collapse from EDG, he dies himself to the bottom lane. This was the play. This is what the issue was, because he's trying to help out the entire game. He's trying to help, but this was the problem. Completely warded out, and that was the result.
And it looked for a minute, though, that Edward Gaming were maybe playing a little bit too slow once they get past that, you know, 27 to 35 minute window when they're trying to set up the Baron. And I want them to kind of push the pedal just a little bit more because they're finding momentum. You know, time and time again, JD Gaming are unable to stop them in the early game. Yeah. And so EDG should feel this confidence. They have no answer for us now. Haro is playing with momentum. He's playing with that confidence. He's able to camp either the top side of the map, the bottom side, the mid lane. Like, they have a run on this game. Now just really step on JD Gaming's throat and show them that you have the experience.
And here's the story of the series, because we talked about iBoy in the recent game. This time it's Haro plugging in. So while Scout still performing strongly, it's the rest of the team that's coming back up. We had faith in their mechanics. Now it's really just paying off in the fact that they are together, playing together. One of the Baron fights that really ended this game, for me, it was Scout coming through on a flank, but it was the fact that he's willing to play the Galio, play supportive, because the utility that he brought was crucial because he had the faith that the rest of the team would come through.
To be fair, though, we've expected that type of playstyle from Scout all split long.
Yes.
I remember the famous Galio teleport play that he made, which was just the most crazy flank I've ever seen. Scout has been playing out of his mind, but we don't expect people like Haro, from Zero to Haro, for him to step up and start performing like this. Yeah, that one feels bad.
That's
a
salt
on the wound.
Miscalculation.
At that point, he's like, most mid laners are like,
guys,
I'm giving myself for the team.
Yeah.
But in that situation, he's able to get the job done and get out of there.
MVP goes to Haro. Surprise, surprise, after that excellent game. And in all of the material that we've seen coming into this matchup, Haro has been looking nervous. He's been looking very tense, but that's the smile I think we're going to expect to see from him when he returns to the Rift.
And all the Edward Gaming fans should be smiling as well. This is what we've wanted to see. You know, it feels bad to say goodbye to the era of Clear Love, to close that book and that chapter, but Haro truly is the future of this organization, and you do need to default to trust at some point. I didn't know if it was going to be today. I thought it was going to be someday that EDG would return to glory, but right now they're looking very hot in this series.
Yes.
If they wanted to continue, it had to be today, at least for 2018. But this is the conversation we came to at the beginning of the day. If EDG wanted to actually compete, it would have to be through adaptation, through embracing the new, because that is what JD Gaming have done that have got them this far. Now we got to get to the big question. Can they bring it back? And to do that, I want to ask you guys a very important question.
All
You
right, give it
both
to me.
said it would be 3-1
Uh-oh.
JD.
Do I have to keep the jacket on? What's going on?
You're
That's a
gonna
little bit too hot.
flip-flop.
I'll let you just run wild.
I will say, obviously, I'm going to now change it to a, I think it's a 3-2.
We can even make it even easier.
Goes to-
Are we
no.
going to 5?
It goes to 5.
Okay.
I still think JD take it. But with that being said, it's the biggest surprise for me is how strong EDG are playing around other individuals, that we did hold them into a Haro style. We said that Haro had to come in. I even brought it to the bottom lane. I was like, you know what, if iBoy and Mako come in, as we would expect them to at some point throughout the season, they would come out strongly. Haro now coming into the mix, that's going to be the difference maker. Now, 4 members doing incredibly well going up against JD.
I keep waiting for you to say JD Gaming or EDG, but you really
I
didn't.
already said
He
JDG
said
are taking
JD,
it.
3-2.
But it will go to 5. I give you
There's
that.
always a but.
Oh, okay. When I bet against Edward Gaming, it's because I hadn't seen adaptation from them all year long. This series, finally, we're starting to see that adaptation. We're seeing the trust into Haro, so I'm actually going to flip-flop, pull Raz,
wait
and
a
I'm going to
minute.
go for Edward Gaming.
Okay.
I think
Alright.
that they've consistently shown that JD Gaming have nothing in the early game.
I'm no longer the flip-flop person. She's just taking it. That's tag right there. She's got it.
It absolutely is. But now we're going to go ahead and take a quick break while we get ready for that Game 4 between Edward Gaming and JD Gaming.